Greetings to all. Welcome to CEC lecture Praktikatmak Abhivyakti series. The topic of deliberation and analysis is climate change, and with me is Madam Sonia Sharma ji. In this lecture, we shall discuss the meaning and the impact of climate change. In this lecture, we shall also highlight that in order to tackle climate change and environmental issues thereof, one must look into the significance of India's call for life, that is, lifestyle for environment movement to influence and persuade individuals, communities, organizations across the world to adopt an environmental conscious lifestyle. To begin with, how do we define and understand climate change? Climate change, if we go by the popular definition available at online search for anyone, that is climate change. It is the global or regional climate patterns, the change thereof in particular, and the change apparent from the mid to the late 20th century onwards, and this is largely attributed to the increased levels of atmospheric carbon dioxide produced by the use of fossil fuels. When we talk about climate change, it is very essential that in this understanding, we must also understand that how there are two important issues that is we must understand with respect to climate change. That is, weather is different from climate. Namely, weather reflects short-term conditions of the environment, of the atmosphere, but climate is the average daily weather for an extended period of time. And climate change, it is a long-term alteration of temperature and typical weather patterns in a place. There has been a lot of debate over natural and human factors as causes of climate change. Climate as a subject and climate change as a challenge has been addressed at various forums, from news to academics to policy concerns, and also in the bigger realm of films too. When we talk about climate change, we must understand that today it's an important issue. In the year 2004, let's take an example, the important movie Day After Tomorrow, that was an American science fiction disaster film directed and co-produced by Ronald Emmerich, and it depicted the harmful impact because of the disruption of North Atlantic Ocean circulation with series of extreme weather events. Moving forward, Day After Tomorrow was there in the year 2004. In the year 2016, the documentary film about climate change directed by Fisher Stevens, Before the Flood. Now this documentary, it showed to the world the realities of climate change. Quoting the views of Leonardo DiCaprio, the actor who was there in this documentary, in his acceptance speech for the Best Actor at the 2016 Oscars, that is, he said, climate change is real. It is happening right now. It is the most urgent threat facing our entire species, and we need to work collectively together. Further, quoting from Leonardo DiCaprio's remark at the United Nations in 2016, that is, "You are the last, best hope of Earth. We ask you to protect it, or we and all living things we cherish our history." Now we have to understand that as we talk about climate change, natural factors that are responsible for climate change, namely changes in the sun, emissions from volcanoes, variations in Earth's orbit and levels of carbon dioxide are important indeed. But it is the human activity which is an important cause of climate change. And way before, Mahatma Gandhi ji had said that there is enough in the world for our needs but not for our greed. So therefore, when we look at human activity, namely that how greenhouse gas emissions, they blanket the earth, they trap the sun's heat, and this leads to global warming and climate change. Generating power by burning fossil fuels such as coal, oil, natural gas are important causes of climate change because of human activities. Cutting down fossils to create farms or pastures, cutting down forest, deforestation are important causes again of human activities responsible for climate change. So in all this we have to understand that human caused activity is impacting increasingly and leading to irreversible losses in terrestrial, freshwater, coastal, open ocean, marine ecosystems. It is very important to understand that we look into ways now to tackle climate change. And for that, before we take the debate further, let's get the attention. Let's talk about an important report that points towards the huge challenge that is there in front of all of us. We take reference to the IPCC's Working Group 2 contribution to the 6th assessment IPCC's report, that is impact of climate change, looking at ecosystems, biodiversity, human communities at global and regional level. This report we have retrieved from ipcc.org, and this report presents and reviews some important points. It reviews the vulnerabilities and the capacities and the limits of the natural world and human societies to adapt to climate change. This report, which was released on 28 February 2002, draws from 34,000 studies. It involved nearly 270 authors and from 67 countries. So that shows the broad representation the report had, and therefore the challenges, the findings it presents are indeed very significant too. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called the report an atlas of human suffering and a damning indictment of the failed climate leadership. This report pointed out that climate change is already causing widespread disruption in every region in the world, with just 1.1 degree Celsius, that is 2 degree Fahrenheit of warming. The report also pointed out even if the world rapidly decarbonizes, greenhouse gases already in the atmosphere and current emission trends will make some very significant climate impacts unavoidable through 2040. This report also finds that every tenth of a degree of additional warming will escalate threats to people, species, ecosystems, amongst others. Now, drawing further from this report, that is how today when we look at human issues, human activities, there is a need, as this report points out, to look at ways to adapt to climate change, inducing innovative and practical solutions to improve food and water security and preserve the ecosystems. The problems that this report highlights, and which is very important for understanding climate change as a global threat, that is, adaptation projects are not equally distributed and geographically and are chronically underfunded. Further, this report highlights that is many are too short-sighted and they often miss an opportunity for transformational change to how we feel, feed, shelter and power societies. This report gives a very important aspect of inequities, namely that we all know everyone is impacted by climate change. Climate change is affecting everyone, but not everyone is affected equally. That is, with poorer communities, women, children, indigenous people, they are most vulnerable as the century progresses. Further, this report gives some very important facts that today roughly 3.3 to 3.6 billion people live in contexts that are highly vulnerable to climate change. Once again, as the report points out, that this is a figure again that is projected to rise. Now, as we talk about this important facts concerning climate change as a global challenge, as we look into various natural as well as human activities that are responsible for causes of climate change. Today, as we know that climate change has become an important agenda in international relations. Earlier, because of primacy of realism as a paradigm in international relations, as a mainstream perspective, it led to focus on statism, self-help, survival, wherein national interest was seen in the sense of power and domination. However, with issues ranging from rise of smog, with issues like rise of global warming, depletion of ozone layer, climate change too became an important concern with respect to issues of international relations. The 1994 UNDP report too highlighted that how the concept of human security, it includes environmental security, ecological concerns, biodiversity, climate change therein as an important pillar for understanding environmental security. Today, climate change is an important agenda for global governance issues. Climate change and the need for solidarity and the need to work collectively is an important aspect for global summits and international relations debate. In this scenario, the national statement by the Indian Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji at COP26 summit in Glasgow, that was 2nd November 2021, demands attention in order to understand that the important contribution India is making at the global realm to contribute towards combating climate change. The national statement by Indian Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi at COP26 summit in Glasgow, November 2, 2021 pointed out, and we quote from there, India ranks 4th in the world in installed renewable energy capacity. India's non-fossil fuel energy has increased by more than 25% in the last 7 years, and now it has reached 40% of our energy mix. massive LED bulb campaign is reducing emission by 40 million tons annually. Quoting further from the national statement by Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi at Glasgow, that is, the world admits that lifestyle has a big role in climate change. Life, L-I-F-E, which means lifestyle for environment. Today, there is a need for all of us to come together and take lifestyle for environment forward as a campaign. Further, at the summit, India presented 5 nectar elements, Panchamrit, to deal with the challenge of climate change. Once again, quoting from the statement, first, India will take its non-fossil energy capacity to 500 GW by 2030. Second, India will meet 50% of its energy requirements from renewable energy by 2030. Third, India will reduce the total projected carbon emissions by 1 billion tons from now till 2030. Fourth, by 2030, India will replace the carbon intensity of its economy by more than 45%. And fifth, by the year 2070, India will achieve the target of net zero. So therefore, as we try to understand the 5 nectar elements, Panchamrit, which are very significant to deal with the challenge of climate change, with that, the global initiative of lifestyle for environment movement, which was launched by Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi on the occasion of World Environment Day on 5th June 2022. Let us understand that also. During the launch of this very important initiative, the Indian Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi noted that challenges on earth are well known to all. Thus, there is a need of human-centric collective efforts and robust action to strengthen the sustainable development. Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji introduced the idea of life, as pointed out in 2021 during the 26th United Nations Climate Change Conference of Paris COP26 in Glasgow. Further, the idea of life promotes an environment conscious lifestyle with the need to focus on deliberate and mindful utilization instead of destructive and mindless consumption. The idea of life, that is lifestyle for environment movement, it's about making lifestyle choices to improve our planet. The main focus of lifestyle for environment movement, will be a coalition of like-minded people across the world who will promote sustainable lifestyles. 3 P's: pro, planet, people. This global movement of pro-planet, the 3 P's, pro, planet, people, is the coalition for life. These 3 are global coalitions that will form the trinity of our environmental efforts for improving the global commons. So therefore, dear learners, challenges associated with climate change are very important to understand. Climate change has far-reaching impact on our planet. The idea of India's global initiative, Lifestyle for the Environment, LIFE movement, will definitely influence and persuade individuals, communities, organizations across the world to adopt an environment conscious lifestyle. So, as we understand climate change, it is very important to understand that today climate change and its related concerns of global warming, of depletion of ozone layer, of its impact on land, air, water pollution, of the issues concerning loss of biodiversity are very important issues for national and global governance. Climate change, the change in global or regional climate patterns, today it has to be understood in a holistic framework. Time and again, people have been sensitized towards the issues, towards the realities of climate change, but the important issues of climate change, right from what Mahatma Gandhi ji said, that there is enough in the world for our need, but not for the greed, or to what Leonardo DiCaprio said at United Nations in 2016, that we ask you to protect it, or we and all living beings, we cherish our history. Today, we have to understand that greenhouse emissions, generating power by burning of fossil fuels, deforestation are all important concerns that are important for understanding anthropogenic causes of climate change. Countries are affected by climate change, and there is a need to get together to understand its disproportionate impact on children, on women, on marginalized communities which are most vulnerable as the century progresses. The IPCC 6 assessment report also points us out that today roughly 3.3 to 3.6 billion people live in contexts that are highly vulnerable to climate change. So therefore, it is essential that countries think about climate change as a global challenge, and to cater to this global challenge with important efforts by India, namely ranking 4th in the world on installed renewable energy capacity, or the important pledge towards lifestyle for environment movement, or the important commitment at Panchmitra, that is India will take its non-fossil energy capacity to 500 GW by 2030, and it will meet 50% of its energy requirements from renewable energy by 2030, are very important to understand the global solidarity, the global cooperation to cater to climate change. Today, climate change is an important agenda for global governance issues, and to cater to that, the global initiative of Lifestyle for Environment movement is indeed very significant. This movement, launched on the occasion of World Environment Day on 5th June 2022 by India, it points out that today challenges confronting Earth, we all know that, but there is a need to have a human-centric approach. There is an urgent requirement of collective effort. There is a necessity of robust action to strengthen sustainable development. Pointing out that there is a need for environment conscious lifestyle. This will go a long way to conserve and preserve the environment, and also ensure that human activities are curtailed which cause climate change. Lifestyle for Environment movement is all about making lifestyle choices to improve our planet. Lifestyle for Environment movement will be a coalition of like-minded people across the world who will promote sustainable lifestyles, the 3 Ps: pro, planet, people. So dear learners, we hope that the lecture on climate change presented to you the important challenges of climate change as a global reality and as an important issue for national and domestic governance. We hope that the lecture presented to you significant insights from the IPCC's report, the recent report, and the significance of India's global initiative of lifestyle for environment. There is a need to make lifestyle choices to improve our planet. There is an urgent necessity to put all solidarity and amplify all support to promote sustainable lifestyles, the 3 Ps: pro, planet, people. We look forward to positive, encouraging feedback from you all for the lecture. Thank you very much.